Yellow diamonds in the light, and we're standing side by side as your shadow crosses mine. What it takes to come alive. It's the way I'm feeling, I just can't deny. But I gotta let it go.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were already here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andy, and I work for an organization called Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Wow, that's quite a mouthful. So why don't we shorten it to 4 simple letters? J, D, R, F. Do you think you can repeat after me? Let's give it a go. Ready? J. Come on, that's weak sauce. You gotta repeat after me. You gotta get pumped about this. Ready? J. Good, that's better. D. Very nice. R. Good, we're almost there. And F. Fantastic. JDRF is a nonprofit organization that raises money to research a cure for type 1 diabetes, which we will talk about in just a moment. Raise your hand if you know someone with diabetes. Looks like we got a lot of hands raised in the air. It's like we're raising the roof. Everyone raised the roof for diabetes. Good. Now, if you didn't raise your hand, you won't be left out because you have just met someone with type 1 diabetes. Me. I am a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed when I was 15 years old, and my sister is also a type 1 diabetic. She was diagnosed when she was 9 years old. But we wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for organizations like JDRF. JDRF was started over 40 years ago by a group of parents who wanted to help their kids with type 1 diabetes. Their main goals are to cure, treat, and prevent type 1 diabetes. Today, JDRF has made tons of progress in reaching their goals. For example, JDRF supports a really neat research project called the Artificial Pancreas Project, which allows diabetics to use technology to maintain better blood sugars. We need to learn a little bit more about type 1 diabetes, so follow me this way and we will learn just what you need to know. Whoa! Now, what exactly is type 1 diabetes? Before we begin, there are 3 words I want you to remember. Pancreas, insulin, and blood sugar. I call it Mr. Pibb. P-I-B. Are we ready to begin? Let's go. Type 1 diabetes or juvenile diabetes is a disease that affects a very special organ located behind your stomach called the pancreas. Remember that word? Pancreas. The pancreas makes an ingredient called insulin. It's our second word. Insulin, which is a hormone that acts like a key to the lock that unlocks the glucose in our bodies. Now, where do we get glucose? From the things we eat. All those sandwiches, fruits, and veggies, and even the sweets that we eat have glucose in them. And we need insulin to help break down the glucose so that our blood sugar, our third word starting with B, does not get too high. What happens when you don't have insulin? Your blood sugar gets too high. That's right. And we start to feel really sick. You feel really tired, your eyes start to hurt, and you get really, really thirsty. It's a lot of not fun things to feel when you're a type 1 diabetic. So there are certain things that type 1 diabetics have to do on a daily basis to make sure that we stay healthy enough to live a really healthy, long life. We check our blood sugars every day on a blood sugar monitor by pricking our fingers. That tells us if our blood sugar is in the normal range, which is 80 to 120, or too high or too low. Then we count the carbohydrates in the foods that we eat. Remember the glucose that we have to break down? We have to count how much is in everything we eat. Then we give insulin. Remember that hormone that we don't make? We give insulin through insulin shots or through an insulin pump like I have on my side right here. Insulin's going to be in us 24/7 to help break down the glucose that we eat. So basically we have to do everything that our pancreases don't do on our own. Now, the big question is this contagious? Let me let you in on a secret. It's not contagious. You can't catch this. It's not like the cold or the common flu. Also, it's nothing that we did to make this happen. We don't really know the reasons why type 1 diabetes happens. One day you're fine, and then the next day you're just sick. And it's really not a fun disease. We want to find a cure for this. We did nothing wrong, so why do we deserve to live with type 1 diabetes every day? Now, I think there's another type of diabetes. On to the next room. Oh, sorry. There's another type of diabetes called type 2 diabetes. A type 2 diabetic pancreas doesn't know how to use the insulin that's already in their bodies, so their blood sugars do go higher, but they can treat it with certain pills, diet, and exercise. Type 2 diabetes is preventable if we make the right choices. We need to eat healthy and stay active by exercising. Every day we need 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. Breakfast comes around and you have a Pop-Tart, add an orange slice to it. By lunchtime, instead of reaching for the cheesecake, add a scoop of peas or carrots. And by snack time in the afternoon when you come home from school, instead of reaching for the chips and the cookies, why not have an apple or some grapes or maybe even a slice of juicy watermelon? Now, for exercising, we need at least 1 hour of exercise a day. That's only 1 hour out of 24 that we need to stay active. Participate in gym class, run around during recess, or even do my favorite, power walking in the mall. There's so many ways to stay active, so many different choices we can have to eat healthy, and we can prevent type 2 diabetes all at the same time. Now, your school has the unique opportunity to help fundraise for type 1 diabetes research by participating in our Kids Walk to Cure Diabetes program. You can take us one step closer to finding a cure by fundraising for type 1 diabetes research. You can ask your parents, you can ask your grandparents, your distant relatives, your friends, sports teams, youth groups, or even your dog to help donate to type 1 diabetes research and help the kids in your area that are affected by type 1 diabetes. Now, it is important that you ask your parents' permission before fundraising, and here's what you can do. You will get a packet at school that has a letter that you can give to your parents explaining to them what you learned today. Take these packets and start fundraising, because when you help us, we help you. There may be individual prizes for you to earn with how much you fundraise, and maybe even a competition between the classrooms to see who can fundraise the most. So, go on out there and get them! Now, in about 2 weeks or so, your school will host a walk, which is a mini version of our bigger campaign in the spring. What does walking mean? It means we're not sitting on our butts and doing nothing about finding a cure, but we're also not sprinting to the finish line. We're being patient, yet persistent. You'll receive these sneakers to give to anybody who donates to you to show that they care about finding a cure for type 1 diabetes. We've learned about type 1 diabetes, we've learned about type 2 diabetes, staying active, eating healthy, and so much more. Are you guys ready to walk? Let's get moving.
We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place.